All right, good.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the June 5th Capital Improvement Plan Committee meeting. We'll start, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I'll accept.
We don't have a quorum for that.
Oh, we don't have a quorum.
For voting items. So we can't vote on anything.
What is a quorum for us now?
4.
All right.
We're just missing it.
For this, do we not even have a meeting
We
then?
can have a meeting.
This is a non-meeting.
It would have to be a non-meeting. Yeah.
Yeah,
What do we call it?
A non-meeting?
non-meeting.
But we only have 4 members, right?
So we have 4 sitting members, right? So here's the question.
Yes.
You're not a lawyer. Sometimes play them on TV. We don't have at-large members. So the body should be with at-large. How big should we be?
It's 4, 6.
6, which is odd.
Yeah.
Well, it's even, which is odd. But we only have 4 members that are actively, because we have no at-large. 3 of the 4 are here. Does that constitute a quorum? Or do we need,
Of current members, you mean?
yeah, because it's of current membership, does it? Sorry,
I would say it does,
that would too.
due to the fact that
There are no other members.
say if you had a board of, like a ZBA of 3,
Yeah.
and 2 members resign, the one person, or select, council,
Whatever, yeah.
the one person gets to appoint another member, and then 2 members get to appoint the 3rd member.
Right,
So the quorum is not the number of people, I mean, not the board, the body, but the number of active people.
active people on
Because
it.
then you would need to be able to appoint, I can't remember who's appointing authority to this, if it's the council or
It's
the.
council.
Oh, the
Okay.
council.
Yeah,
But, yes, I would say it is.
so I say we have quorum then.
So we have a quorum. We still need, under other business, to figure out how to get 2 community people, but we'll talk about that later in
So
the
we
agenda.
have a quorum today.
Yes.
We have a quorum. We got a meeting, folks. All right, we got ourselves a meeting.
Done in vain.
So I still will accept a motion for the approval of
Make a
minutes.
motion to approve the minutes from March 28th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There we go. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Does Frank have to abstain because he was not a member then, or
No,
can he approve?
you can vote.
No, I don't.
You can minutes.
Awesome. All right. Item number 3. We're burn here. Discussion with the town manager regarding the CIP process. Steve, welcome to our committee. Probably wondering why we all called you here today.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
So we've been talking about the CIP process,
Yeah.
like the process itself, and how do we get more both rigor and like adherence to like an ongoing building capital improvement plan that is in support of the master plan, as opposed to what it has been up to this point, to the fault of no one, that like, just sort of the way the process has worked, that every year we're looking at a whole bunch of requests as if it was the first time it had ever been proposed,
Right.
as opposed to, look, we know what the plan is. We are helping support, build, and propose the plan that is in support of the master plan, that if there's changes to it, if there's edits to it, annually we should be looking at that. But other than that, it should not be every year we're reviewing every single thing as if it was something totally new.
Completely agree. I think my suggestion would be, don't reinvent the wheel. A number of communities already do it that way. Our process has been somewhat flawed as well. It's not been used as a planning document as much as a budgeting document, to the point where the CIP committee would get angry with me because there's a difference between the CIP and what you can do every year versus what I budget and we can afford every year. So it's a guide for me to present to the council and ultimately the council and budget committee of what the projects are that year. And say if a project's not done, then it should be automatically bumped to the next year or removed because it's not needed any longer. But it needs to be better scheduled, and that's been for years. You're right. Every year it's a wish list of things to go into capital reserve funds, and which ultimately, we should, yes, still use capital reserve funds, but if we have large projects, we should be bonding and issuing debt. Because
Or-
we don't have a lot of debt. We have very little debt on the town side.
I think the tradition in this town has been not to bond.
Right. And that's not always good when it comes to your credit ratings for the community. You do need some debt. And that's
School's got a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Want some of ours?
Yeah, I know. We've had that discussion. But to be honest, we're probably going to have to issue some shortly because, as you know, we're doing a facility study right now. And we're finding out what's really needed for a couple of the buildings.
So-
And just found out another item recently. There's some issues with the bridge near the McAllen Dam. So,
There's questions I have for there, but Rich wanted to say something.
Well, I would just mention that I thought the process, and I've done this in other municipalities, was a very good process. It's a deliberative process
Yeah.
where we have a cross-functional group, which is unusual. So we evaluated every one of these capital projects and had input, whether that jived with what, your budget was or what the council ultimately approved. Like, I was surprised that there was no visibility to what we had recommended. It wasn't in your report. It wasn't part of the deliberative process. It was nowhere. So it almost felt like we did all this. What's the point? Now, you may use that information wisely, but the public never saw any of it.
right. And you're right. I mean, it's part of my deliberations in accordance with the charter that I have to present the budget. So I look at it and say, okay, yeah, this is what they're requesting, but this is what we can afford. And I know what would be difficult to, and part of it is that when the council does go over in the workshop session, they do look at it and they say, oh, why is there a large difference to, I mean, is everything in there? No, usually it's contribution to the capital reserve funds.
Right, but like, for example, we looked at capital reserve fund balances and in some cases judged that there was adequate reserves there. So why were they asking for more?
Right.
It didn't make sense to us, as an example. So it seemed like there was a lot of input we had, that's
Yeah,
all.
and I don't disagree with that. I mean, that completely, there are a lot of capital reserve funds that are well-funded, and we need to start using them, what they're there for. Big ones, police cruisers. For years, there was a capital reserve fund for that, but that's we buy them so often, it's an operational cost. A capital item is usually a one-time or a large purchase over a number of years, not an annual purchase. So we moved it from a contribution to capital reserve to the operating budget. I mean, I guess my thought there is I think we need to have maybe a presentation to the planning board as part of the master plan process for that, and then even when we got the documents from from the committee to the council, it didn't go far because it's like, okay, so what is it needs to be more presentation, I think, from the committee to the council on what that is. And we just never got that.
So I think that we have discussed the previous version of this
Yeah.
board, that how do we, like, as part of the budgeting process, get that information, at least to the council, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, and maybe it's your budget.
Right.
Maybe, because you're right, it has been used as a budgeting document, and it's truly a planning document.
Right.
But, like, we need to be building, like, what I think we need to be building is something that very coherently supports the master plan, so that when, like, a facilities review is done, we should be in the loop of, like, it's happening, that's
Yeah.
gonna really impact the capital improvement plan, and then what are we shifting based on the priorities of the community in alignment with the master plan? I know there's an issue that the master plan's out of date, so, like, the guidance we have is not maybe where the community's heading, but rec is a great example. Rec had a bunch of stuff in there. They were all like, sound like great ideas, all right, but, like, which one's more important than which one
Right.
supports the vision of the community as outlined in a master plan that, like, we want, because maybe where the community wants to head, or the word trying is, like, because you look at the housing that's being built, not a lot of families moving in.
Right.
Actually, school population is declining.
Right.
There's actually a lot of 55 plus people coming in, even if it's single family housing. So what, as a community, do we want to invest in rec to bring more families in? Do we want to invest in things that are more for, like, the senior center? Because that's
Right.
what the community looks like.
It sounds like then that the CIP process, at least initially, ought to be a multi-year process. If it isn't, I mean, obviously there will be an annual version of it, but it would have to be, I think, reflective of a multi-year goal setting in order to be truly supportive and considerate of the master plan. Because if you do it annually, you have an annual goal, it's easy to reach an annual goal, pretty simple. But if you have a 5-year goal, you may decide, well, you know what, we're going to hold off on this investment for this year, and we're going to do that next year because it fits better. If you have a multi-year process, so that's something that I think would be valuable for certain.
Yeah, I mean, we were late last year in
Yeah.
the timing, so we probably didn't have enough time to even be there at the right time to present this. But that's kind of why we're meeting right now, so that we're ahead of the game
Yeah.
for this coming
Right.
year.
Barely at this point.
Right.
It's June.
And to be honest, I'm gonna need it because we already know what the facilities report is showing us. That this building needs some significant upgrades and the police station needs some significant upgrades. And we're just gonna have to figure out, okay, what's the most palatable way to do that? Is it issue one bond for both projects? Is it to do it year after year? But we are seeing that already, that this building, like I said, police and this building need some significant ones.
And historically, the capital improvement plan, because it's been a budgeting document,
Right.
has only been a way for people to request capital reserve funds.
Right.
But it should be a document, regardless of funding source, like whether it's grant or bonding or operational, but that it was not operational.
And
but
remember
like-
when I first got here and you were a counselor, how many times I have to say, stop referring to that as the capital
it's two
reserve
different
funds,
things.
as a CIP. That's not a CIP, that's a funding, is the capital reserve funds, and I had to explain it numerous times to get it out of their heads that it's not the same.
I mean, I think ultimately, like, tell me if this is, like, I feel like the previous constituted board, like, we were headed in the direction of, we need a capital improvement plan that is a multi-year plan, that the process is an annual review of that plan to see, hey, what work needs to be brought into the capital improvement plan that then informs the budgeting process.
Right.
So, I want
So
to,
it's like, our work is the summer, right? Spring, summer, you're before the fall, before
Right.
the budget.
so I think,
Sorry.
so, moving forward, I think we have a good opportunity to kind of put it in one place, like, Town Manager Fournier said, don't reinvent the wheel. I think Dover is a great example of what they do with, within their master plan, there's actually CIP plan. So we should put it in there, and that would be the document to review. You're not creating separate documents on parallel tracks, it's within the document itself. So,
The approval of the master plan, is that the planning board?
yes.
So, because we have a CIP committee, right, like as the RSA reads, if we didn't do this, if we didn't have a CIP, the planning board would do that work, right? But because we exist, if we put it in the master plan, are we abrogating the responsibility of this
I don't
committee
think so,
to
no.
the planning board?
Not at all.
Because that's the point of the plan anyways, as you said, it's part of the
It's to support the
it is the
master plan.
support the master plan.
But I think ours should be a little more nimble than the
Yeah.
master plan.
Well,
what I'm
within,
saying.
I mean, it depends what we put within that plan, the CIP, like, plan, within the master plan. You could definitely add some language in there that talks about adaptation, flexibility and whatnot, to certain items. So you create that nimbleness. So, I think that's possible, it's achievable within that one document.
I mean, is the CIP still an evaluation of the adequacy of capital reserve funds?
That's it, so that's a
That goes towards master plan, projects.
I think it's the adequacy, it needs to switch from being adequacy to the CIP committee determines what's the best way to fund it. Is look at it and say, okay, there's already enough funds in a certain capital reserve, use that. There's not enough funds, but we see you're gonna be doing this in year 5. So start putting the money aside, so in year 5 you'll have it there in a capital reserve fund.
Right.
Problem was, our capital reserve funds were used more as blanket savings accounts, and didn't always have concrete plan for what they were there for, and which they should be. They should have a,
Right, but that was part of our, like, we
Yeah.
sort of wanted to see that in each and every case.
Right.
So if you were here, presenting to us, we would have challenged you on that.
yeah,
And we did, right? So, like, there were some places where we saw, like, there is money sitting here
Right.
that has no plan against
Right.
it. We're not gonna fund more money into that.
right.
But then we never saw where those recommendations went.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I think there's really
Right.
two pieces to why we want to talk to you. One is the process in terms of like, hey, this is more of a like component or ancillary to the master plan than a budgeting tool. But there is a budgeting component to it. Then how do we get into that cycle in front of the
Yeah.
council probably to
The
be like,
bud-
here's what we think should be funded.
The
this way.
budget part from the CIP is just a recommendation on how to fund it. If the committee thinks it's better through debt, because you're gonna get that recommendation from the department heads. Usually, they should be saying, okay, I recommend doing a lease or debt or capital reserve fund contribution. It's up to this committee to say, yes, I agree with that, or no, I don't. And the other thing is, it's this committee that sets the priority. Every department head's gonna say their project is high priority. But this committee is like there to balance it between all the departments and say, you know what? I know next year we need a new fire truck, new dump truck. Everybody's saying that's high, but we can't do that. So a low priority may be building a community trail. That's a low priority, but we know that a fire truck is gonna have the life of it's gone. That's a high priority. That's the kind of thing that this committee needs to do and sort of balance what all the departments.
Well, I mean, ideally, I would think that, sorry for jumping in. Ideally, you would be aware of the fire truck's lifespan and be able to plan for that, so you're not doing that on an annual basis. You don't receive the news, oh, the fire truck, ladder truck needs to
And
be
we do.
replaced.
We have done that.
We do that.
Yeah.
Right,
We have
so that it's, and to me, I don't know, I may be wrong, but to me, this planning process ought to be looking truly ahead, whereas the budget committee would be balancing, annual expenditures, operating expenditures, and capital expenditures.
And that's when it comes to my desk. For a number of years, I would just get the contribution to capital, what everybody's project was, and a contribution to capital reserve funds in the budget, and I looked like the villain because I cut it down to what we could afford versus what was requested. And I mean, there were years that the CIP committee came in and said, "I can't believe you're cutting it." And I'm like, "Well, because I can't have a $5 tax increase." But that's what it is. You're right. It's just a recommendation.
So, but I think perhaps where in that case,
Yeah.
there hasn't been a circle back, is that when things get cut, we are unaware of it, so we don't know how that impacts the plan.
Yeah.
Because that's like,
I
okay,
think-
now what projects are
Yeah.
getting pushed and
So
what,
and
like,
you're right, and-
we have no idea.
I would say prior to the pandemic, there was more. The committee came into the budget process. They
Yeah.
came into the workshop on that Saturday and explained why they requested why they recommended what they recommended. And
So-
I sat there and you said this is the reason why.
And I don't think we had the time to do that last year.
Yeah.
We started meeting so late, and this has
Absolutely.
nothing to do with
No,
budget,
no,
it's just
no.
an old
It was a
process
transition
we've been
period.
on.
Yeah.
So if we had that opportunity last year, I think I personally probably feel better about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the process. At least that we were able to, present what what our findings were.
I also think, yeah, I agree. I totally agree, Rich. I also think that we need to transition to build a real capital improvement plan, to me, closer to a component of the master plan than a budgeting document. Right now, the way it is structured, it is designed to push us to budgeting. It is designed as a capital reserve funding tool, not as a planning tool that we then have to operationalize into budget.
I receive a capital budget from the capital improvement
Yeah,
committee.
you should get a
I
plan.
do not get a plan. I
Right.
get a budget.
Yeah,
And
it
that's
makes
the
no
difference.
sense to me. It's never made sense.
It's by the charter, the town manager writes the first budget. It's nobody else. But they should submit a plan to the town manager's office, so then the town manager writes the budget. So
Yeah,
that's-
and you understand, hey, if I cut the capital reserve funds that are suggested by the CIP, it is gonna impact the execution of our capital improvement plan,
Right.
which then would feed back to us to reorder.
Exactly.
Next year.
Or I'd even say, you know what, the capital improvement committee is recommending we can contribute to capital reserve fund. I got a better deal on a lease on this one over here. I'll recommend a lease in my budget. And that's a policy decision. But that's
bonding.
right.
The council could decide to bond something.
And,
Like,
and that's
this
it.
is-
And that's what we just make the recommendations based on the it's a recommendation.
So I'm getting real clarity in my mind now.
Yeah.
Thank you for this dialogue.
Yeah, no.
Like, we have really two tasks in front of us. One is the authoring and maintenance of the plan. Like Word document, I'm thinking, right? Like a real plan for capital that aligns to the master plan. The second stream of work is the recommendations for resourcing, scope and sequence, and funding source for the execution of that plan.
Yes.
Which gets as part of the budget cycle.
Right.
That is all we've really done up to this point. It's been focused there.
Right.
And I think our mindset, like when we started at the beginning of last year, we would say, "Oh, okay, well, we shouldn't be seeing some things that are like brand new out of the woodwork here, you know.
Yeah.
This should have been here last year, it should have been year 2 of year 5. You know, if it's something brand new, it should be the rarity, not the,
Right.
you know.
Right.
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 And it should cause adjustments to the plan. If something new's coming in, is that a higher priority? Like the building, right? A bunch of code stuff's probably gonna come in about buildings, where we're gonna have to be like, all this fun stuff slides to the right.
Yeah.
Right. So we can get this stuff done to make sure like our PD's up to code.
Right. And the thing also is when it comes to budgeting, is that the CIP helps level it. That when we retire some debt, we fill it back in. You would probably fill it back in with other debt to do other projects in the plan. So you don't have these big spikes and valleys in there. So, for example, say if next 5 years we put $50,000 in for a new dump truck into the capital reserve fund. Well, we just bought the new dump truck. We don't have to fund that anymore. We have enough funds in there. Why don't we take that 50 and put it towards the recreation programming to go towards a new community trail? Those kind of situations. So you have a level funding. The other thing is, we budget the use of fund balance. That's been a policy since we've been here, so we don't have, again, peaks and valleys with the budget. And if you ever notice, most of the money that the contribution to capital reserve funds usually equals about what the use of fund balance is. Because if I don't do that, and for some reason I don't have the fund balance, then I have to hit operational costs. And I'd rather not hit operational and just not contribute to capital reserve fund one year.
So then we have to create the timing that allows us to be able to, you know, present findings from our process at the budget workshop. Is that the?
Yeah, that's in
workshop.
October.
Yeah.
Usually it's Saturday, late October.
Yep. Yep.
But by charter, we need a CIP plan by September,
September 15th.
right? Because then I have to give a budget by
Sure.
October 15th.
Right.
So that's why everything's a month difference, yeah.
So I think that gives us time, not a lot, but time to say, okay, to like move from the spreadsheets to like, here is our plan, or what we believe is the capital improvement plan in terms of projects and order and everything, so that in August, we can be like, okay, after that, how do we recommend funding of these things by the 15th to go into the budget?
Yeah, so June, July, get all the projects in line that department heads recommend.
So you need requests from people.
Yeah,
Like,
and in August,
Hearings,
we,
if we're gonna do hearings of that.
And that would be for, I think, primarily for this year. And then, rather than the CIP committee meeting again or reconstituting itself, you know, the next year, it should probably continue and work on the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
this is what, like, the reason we're even meeting now, CIP never meets now. The CIP, like, we met in January, March, whatever, March, right? March 28th, right? Like, that never happens. It's always been like, all right, everyone.
late August.
Yeah.
Late August, let's get our
Yeah, see you
budget
again
numbers in.
next year.
Yeah, see you next year, it's all over.
Yeah.
So
Right, it's like
we're
twice
actively
a week
trying to
for
do
4
that.
weeks
Okay.
in August. you gotta
Right.
meet.
That's
Just
great.
jam it all in.
Okay.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, town's gonna undergo a comprehensive master plan update too.
What is the timeline on that?
it'll probably end in 25.
So
So-
it's out there.
We've got some time
Yeah.
to like refine what we think the like capital improvement
And also-
plan looks like, so that it can like
Exactly,
become a
and
component
also,
of or support
and
the
those,
documents.
those CIP items too are gonna come out through the visioning as well during that process. So it's gonna be part of the conversation.
Is there community involvement in the visioning?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel like this committee needs to play a really
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
role in that.
Yeah.
I also feel like we probably need a tighter relationship with the planning board.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
have a relationship with you,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know some of the
You're
people on
right.
it.
It's almost like the committee was looking the wrong way for so long. They were looking at the council,
And the
budget
budget.
committee, but it's not. It's the planning board.
Right, and we have our representative, she's not here. but-
Right.
Yeah. But understanding the direction of the planning board should inform.
Yeah.
So should besides the focus on this budget cycle over the summer, should then the focus be on the process of how we're going to be developing the plan and moving forward? Because if the master plan is undergoing basically a basic revision from the ground up, we should probably in parallel establish a process that we can then utilize, reflecting to reflect the master plan, rather than, working with what we have right now, establish, this is how we're going to be doing this on an annual basis, and the review, and this is when we start meeting, those kinds of things, based on how other communities are doing it.
I think like, yes, I think we beta test it now, right? We by like,
Yeah.
whatever information we have to inform, right? I think we get whatever information we can about the facilities review. Like we get to inform what we think over the summer the plan should be, so that towards the end of the summer we can start getting into the budgeting of it. But I think that also requires us now going to departments and being like, here's the plan right now, like any adjustments to it. Not like, what's your plan this year? Be like, here's the plan. Yeah, not like resubmit everything.
Right.
So I guess the next meeting then, well, I'll take what I have,
Yeah.
basically for what we had last year, redesign it in a way that's, it makes sense process-wise, send it out to them, to the department heads, do you have anything to add from this? And then bring it back.
I wouldn't just say add,
Yeah.
because I think it's like any
What's your
adjustments
plan?
to
Any
your plan,
adjustments,
to
yeah.
the
Yeah,
plan.
from last.
That's what I-
year,
yeah, that's what I meant,
from
excuse
what
me.
we
Right. It
have.
should be very, unless the project was done
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's something new that's
Actually,
out there.
the facilities
Is
study
new.
is gonna be new things that
Right.
are coming down the pike.
It should be the same. You should just adjust what you have there. And remember one thing too, that the charter was amended in 2013 or 14 to change the CIP committee to, before that, it was set up that the finance director was the staff person.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was the most backwards thing you ever saw, and I don't even know if it complied with state law. But then the charter commission met and said, no, this is supposed to be a planning document. Get the personnel, get the finance director out of there, because staff shouldn't be on the committee anyways, and make it a true planning thing. So it's getting there. It's not. It was 20 years of something one way, and it's just pivoting and turning it.
Okay. So I just wanna get like in my head like process now for this year. Get a consolidated document of the current capital improvement plan, basically that we approved last year.
Mhm. Yep.
That like, and like we can talk, like I can do whatever I can to assist you in this, like not just the spreadsheets with money, but like here's the plan of like what work is gonna happen in support of the town.
We need 5.
And
What's
it's
going
5
to happen in
years,
year
right?
5? What's happening in
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
5 years, yep.
That seeing what adjustments the administrative staff would like to make to that, and I think
Yeah.
to include any inputs we have from the facility study.
Right.
I think we then, over the remainder of the summer, come up with, okay, here's the committee's plan, right? I think we would have, like, our meetings might be working sessions of like, okay, how are we refining this plan? That we then, like, honestly, should be sharing with the planning board and the council
Right.
and the administrator, or the town
Yeah.
managers, pardon me. Like, I'm so used to that, the old
It's not
school. Which we then, towards the end of the summer, are like, okay, how do we operationalize this new plan? And I do think getting in front of like the budget workshop would make sense for
Yeah.
us.
And maybe the planning board.
The planning board as well, absolutely.
I think that's it. The planning board needs to take some ownership, since that's the purpose of it.
I bet they would, like, honestly, I'd like to hear what the planning board's guidance or thinking would be as to what should be going into a capital improvement plan. Like, they should be one of our first stops for, like, without an up-to-date master plan, that might be one of the, like, most informative places we could go for, like, hey, here's the type of, like, here's what we were attempting to do with zoning. Here's what we're attempting to do.
Maybe we should get on their agenda and be at a meeting.
Yeah.
And
And I know you're our connection to the
Yeah.
planning board, but, like, I think being in front of the body also.
Sure.
matters.
And if you go to and again, we have to say, it's in the council form of government, if you go to any other councils around here, the planning board, as you said, is the committee of, and usually a subcommittee of the planning board is the CIP committee. But they're the ones who approve the CIP, and then the council approves a capital budget
Yeah.
based on the CIP.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
not even part of they don't get involved in the plan itself, they get involved with, okay, well, this is what we're gonna fund this year, because this is what's in the capital improvement plan.
Do they have any input to the master plan?
Council?
Yeah.
No.
It's all planning board.
There's power on that planning board.
Yep. I mean, if there's ordinance changes, then it has to go before the council,
Yeah.
but the master plan itself
Oh, I
is,
remember that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's why I think doing this, because we have a bunch of chapters in the master plan that are very outdated. So I think, and we've been saving for a lot of years, and we have a lot of money to do a comprehensive update. So
When does the planning board meet?
every second Tuesday.
Meet next Tuesday.
They'll meet next Tuesday. I can get you on the July. Unless you want to come, I set the agenda
I mean-
tomorrow.
Even, like, next Tuesday, what's the date next Tuesday?
13th. Don't quote me on that.
13.
13th, yeah.
My wife is gonna kill me.
But we can also do July
No,
too.
we don't want that, so.
Yeah.
We want you here.
Yeah.
July would be like
What-
the 11th.
What time?
They're at 7.
So 13th would be possible. Honestly, I don't know if they would have enough time. I think what we really need from them, I don't even know if we have to show up initially, it's just like guidance on like their vision for what should be included in the capital approval.
So this is what I recommend. How about I set them up during my staff, I have a staff report, say, hey, look, CIP committee wants to come in, have a discussion. And then for the next meeting, that'll give them a month to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we can have that discussion, more thorough discussion.
Yeah, when we're there, I think getting like
Yeah.
firm, like here's our
Right.
thinking about capital improvement.
Yeah.
Like, that would be more beneficial than like us showing up and be like, please tell us this, we'll see you next time.
Right.
You're right, and again, the regional planning commissions have documents on how to do a CIP. As Bart said, the city of Dover has a comprehensive one. I believe Portsmouth has one as well, it's pretty good. I mean, Dover's just, it's easy to read, it's easy to follow, you understand why they're doing what they're doing, so.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have to over-engineer it,
No.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just something that divorces the budget component from the planning component. I
Yeah.
think that is the biggest thing we could do this year.
Yeah.
It'll get more robust as time goes on, right?
Yep.
Other questions first?
Would the Dover plan be a good guide to understand what types of, what should be included in a CIP?
Yeah. And we also have a manual too, what we use as a guide for department heads to use when they're making their requests.
Okay.
And also what the CIP uses to judge each request. So, yeah, and that can be amended as well. I think there might be some statutory requirements as well. I'll have to take a look. Yes, we can do that. And I can send a link
That
to
would-
you
that
all,
would be
just so you
very
have
helpful
it.
to me.
And Rich, I think you've checked out Portsmouth's.
I mean, Portsmouth had an interesting process because they had a citizen input process, which they spent a lot of time on and got people,
I'd love to
citizen.
get to that.
I don't think we're ready for that.
Yeah.
No,
You know,
yeah.
But it's a great model, I thought. I was actually going to talk to somebody there. I never got to them, but
And you're right, if you got the citizen process, it's almost like the CIP should be done in July, not a month before the
Right.
budget's due.
Yeah,
So and that's it. It's almost like as soon as the budget's done, the town meeting is done, CIP should start
yeah.
and wrap up way before.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I really think about long-term our cycle, like, you're probably doing goal setting or done goal setting
Yeah.
now as a council. Does the planning board do goal setting?
Yeah,
Right, like,
Yeah.
their goals should help inform, like, right after that,
Yeah.
should be like CIP, all right, let's take a look at this, how does it align to the goals that are like more annual and nimble than the master plan? That then informs the CIP, that then ultimately informs the budget later in the summer. Our work is in the spring, I swear most of our work should be in the
Right,
spring.
I think you're right.
It sounds like, if the CIP were to function like that, that it would become almost like an operational element of the master plan,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
right.
And it's not reinventing the wheel every year, which it
Yeah.
seems to be.
Yeah.
All it is saying,
Right.
that one's done, take it off, put a new thing in,
Yeah.
versus.
Like,
I think if,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean, if our group did what we did last year and people
Yeah.
came again, we'd be like, hey,
Yeah.
because we have the same people.
Yeah.
Like, why is this thing there? Well, like, wasn't there last year or what happened?
Yeah, all of a sudden it'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
looking at stuff like, where does this new project come from out of
Yeah.
nowhere?
And I can tell you, you're gonna say, okay, why is that project still there? And the department heads is gonna say, because the town manager cut it from the budget.
Yep,
And I'm gonna say, because the budget was too high. And that's what happens every year. That's why things are.
So then it'll come back to the
I'm trying-
evaluation, like,
Yeah.
Right.
do we fund this year instead, or recommend this year then, this item instead of that item,
yeah.
to achieve the overall
Right.
goal?
It adds rigor to what we try to instill rigor with, we didn't have the guidance of our like plan to have rigor on the capital reserve fund.
And the
proposals.
time,
It's like-
and the questioning would be, not of the department heads, about later on to me or the council and say, okay, guys, why did you guys not? We thought that was a high priority. We understand that you couldn't fund everything. What was your decision making on what it was, what your priorities are? I mean, usually, and I can't remember the forms. Usually, there is a spot that says the manager's recommendation. There's usually three priorities: there's the department, the committee, and then the manager, because the manager takes it, brings it to the budget, and that's where you get the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to see what our recommendation was in comparison to what you actually
Yeah.
budgeted
Oh,
for
yeah, it
capital.
wasn't-
Because I think we trimmed stuff.
Yeah, and I
Did-
think, but I mean, you're right. I think last year was the
Sure.
first year, but there was a year I got like a request for like $2 million,
No, but I
and I'm
don't,
like,
I think we were very responsible.
Yeah.
And I'd be surprised if it was much different.
yeah.
I think it was 86,000 trimmed from last year, based on what was requested and what the CIP committee.
Yeah,
Right.
What
Did,
was
yeah.
what was
budgeted.
it?
Well, budget was different, but I'm saying what the,
Yeah, yeah.
what the initial request was.
Yeah,
And then I have to
Oh,
go back
from
and do
what
the
we
numbers
trimmed.
with the
Right.
budget, yeah. But I have that spreadsheet, I'm almost done. I got in a format that's actually, trying to get in one sheet. Over the years, so it has that timeline of what's been coming in and out. So,
Okay.
yeah. For priorities.
Other questions for the manager? Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
know,
Thank
I know
you
this is not a
for-
common
No
meeting.
problem.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
All right. Other
This
business.
manual that you're talking about, is it this manual, the one that?
It's another one, something a little more comprehensive. It actually describes like how department heads should fill out their requests. That's more of
I'm
the,
not so sure we as a CIP ever got one,
I think, yeah, there was one last year.
really?
Yeah, 2 years ago, definitely. But again, that'll probably be for the next meeting, so we agree on the manual.
Yeah.
So that can be distributed to department heads, so they, they know the rules.
Right,
if
like
you will.
which, and I meant to say when Steve was here, like whatever staff meeting, like start sharing this with the department heads.
Yep.
Like, hey, we're gonna be coming in early, like, the more you can inform them, like, of the change of the process and
Mindset.
philosophy, the
Yeah.
mindset,
Right.
like, so that you don't even have to field the ones that are like coming out of
And
nowhere.
there's one coming up next week, so it'll be ideal time.
Our expectation is we should see very much different than
Right.
what we went through last year.
Yep.
Unless there's something going on, like the example of the building thing
Yeah.
or whatever. And there's gonna be a few,
And things have changed.
Well, there was some missing information too. So I think one comes to mind, stormwater. That wasn't funded last year because there wasn't really any information.
Right,
There was a large amount of funds in the capital reserve, and they're asking for more. There was nothing describing how it was going to be used, what it was being saved for, or anything.
Right.
So again, I think I'll identify those and kind of nudge the department, hey, look, this wasn't funded this year because of this. Could you, maybe concentrate on that?
Yeah.
If you really want funding for it, and at least provide the committee a better explanation on what ultimately this
Right.
large sum of money is going to be used for.
Did we establish a capital reserve for that living shoreline thing?
No, I don't believe it was. No.
No, it was, I don't think it was on the ballot.
No. I think the approach was there was going to shift money from a different account, but it never got done. So,
Yeah.
But also we are, as I spoke to before, we're going through this master plan process. I applied for a grant to help supplement that, but it's more focused. That grant money is going to be focused on coastal resiliency and more specifically on the riverfront. So what I'm really interested in is having that vision for the riverfront so we can start, identifying capital improvement plans, for that area and how people currently use or interact with the riverfront and how they want to use it. So
Totally something that I think
Yeah.
is a capital improvement plan
Yeah.
conversation, right?
right. And then also imagine each chapter like that river like that say these are the capital improvements that we heard from the
Yep.
visioning that we want to strive towards. And then then the capital improvement committee can look at those, see which department has requested money towards that, so it kind of feeds back. So that's why I think it's really useful if it's in the master plan itself. Ultimately, right now we got to work with what we
Yeah.
can do, but as we're integrating, I like to integrate what we're working on now into the master plan, or maybe it's reconfigured a little way. A
Do
little
other
differently.
communities have their capital improvement plan inside their master plan?
Dover. Yeah. So, ultimately, you're looking back at that document
Yeah.
and seeing how it matches up with the request.
Is it online?
It is. I'll send the link out to the group to it, and so you can take a look and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
See if that's something that the committee wants to, move towards, or maybe a different direction.
Item 4, other business.
I would just like a meeting. Like we should discuss when to meet again.
We should create a schedule.
I
Yeah,
agree.
sure,
A
yeah.
schedule would be very helpful.
We're
I'm
meeting
not-
very one-off right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that'd be helpful for me
Yeah.
as well as the committee.
If we were gonna do planning board on July 11th, do we wanna meet again before that as a group? Well done.
Keep it at the
Good
town
point.
calendar.
Yeah, one sec.
I can get my phone.
And generally, Mondays work very well for me, maybe a little bit later than 5:30.
Calendar's on the homepage.
Yeah, bottom. Yeah, I can do that. What time, Sunka, would that work for you?
6:30 would be good. 6 o'clock. I mean, it would be fine. It's just a little stressful getting here for
Yeah, they used to be 5, so,
Yeah.
because that was stressful for me, so I
Yeah.
bumped it to,
Yep. Nope, I can make it work, so.
Great.
So
Appreciate
Monday
that.
the 12th? At,
Monday the 12th has ZBA.
Yeah,
oh, that's right.
We're talking June?
we're talking July.
Oh, what's that? I was
Oh,
looking at
Oh,
June.
you're looking at June, yeah.
I'm gonna go to July.
I mean, Mondays
Well,
are,
before July 11th.
Mondays are
Go to the
bad
next
for
one,
me.
yeah.
Monday's bad for you?
Well, budget committee typically meets on a Monday. I'm on the board of the mill space, and we have a every second
Okay.
Monday of the month.
I guess next month.
Is there like an arrows up here? Oh,
Oh, there they are.
I'm on too many boards, that's my problem.
I know, me too. There's only 5 members of the school board, so like everyone's on a million committees.
Right.
All right, so we're talking about the 11th?
but it doesn't work for Rich
Oh, yeah.
well.
Well,
So-
which date are you talking about?
What?
July?
July 11th?
Yeah, no, July 11th I can do.
So how do we meet
Questions
before
about
that?
meeting here,
What about what about another meeting in June?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go back to June.
Okay, that
The
works.
20th of June, for example.
The third Monday, I think town has off.
Third
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Yeah.
The June 20th is
I-
Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
I can't meet that day.
The 26th?
Well, the fourth week, yeah.
27th. 26th, he has budget committee.
27th I'm open, 28th I'm open. 29th, I'm open.
It's 28th there, I can't see.
28th is Energy and Environment Advisory Committee meeting.
They start at 7.
7.
Probably want a little longer if we're gonna meet at 6, so, wanna do, 27th? 27th or that Thursday? Thursday.
That Thursday is probably gonna end up being, that's a
Yeah.
school board meeting.
Okay, so it's 27th.
Yeah.
26th? Monday?
26th is what?
26th, I
Is
can't.
budget.
His
Yeah,
budget committee
so-
that day, so he can't do it.
What time does the budget?
6:30.
6:30.
If you come earlier,
Maybe we
maybe.
could do 5:30 before that. I mean, that gives us me an hour.
If you can make
guys keep
5:30
going.
work on the 26th?
I'll just, yeah.
Okay,
I'll
Wanna do that?
5:30 on the 26th.
all right.
Alright, so that's
Yeah,
June.
let's do my calendar, hold on.
That's June.
June 26th. 5:30.
And what was the plan about getting on the agenda for the 13th for the planning board?
Yeah, so I'll set that up.
The 11th of July.
So this next Tuesday, I'll say, CIP wants to come in and speak about, get your opinion
Okay,
on,
and that'll be on
process
the
and
11th.
visioning, yeah. Yes.
So,
Yeah, I cannot meet on Tuesdays.
That'll be, yeah, so that'll be July 11th.
Jane will already be there.
Yeah.
So, after the planning board, we're gonna wanna meet.
Yeah, it's,
So,
late July.
Like 24th I could do. That's a Monday.
Yeah, me too.
all right,
Let's do that.
Me too.
You
What
wanna do
time?
that?
6:30, Sunka?
I would appreciate it if we could go to 6:30, yeah.
could we do 6, just to try to?
Sure.
Yeah.
6 o'clock on the 24th,
24th
and 7 o'clock on the 11th of July.
for planning board, yep. We'll
Um,
put you on first, too.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Shall we put one
Right
into
after
August
the
then
top.
as well? So that we
Yeah,
are-
I feel like we should do
Yeah,
August
beginning
as
of
well.
August, I think.
So,
Because usually that starts,
getting into,
yeah.
Keep them busy.
the 7th?
yeah, can we do Monday the 7th? Is that enough time between the meetings to like,
That's 2 weeks.
I think
August 7th?
yeah, can you do that? Or
Yeah, I
Yep.
can do that.
We have to confirm with Jane with all these two.
And that's at 6 as
Yeah.
well?
6, yeah.
We'll make 6 our standing time. God, it's like almost school starting back up.
So that means planning board will be meeting on the 8th of August.
Trying to look at the town to see if there's anything on those dates.
The 7th, just double check.
What was that, what was the July date we chose?
24th at 6.
Just make sure there's nothing on, yeah, nothing on there.
Yeah, usually I think we,
7th has nothing.
alright, sorry. We got that. We'll get that.
Let's get these up on.
Wendy, yeah.
And then from there, we're probably getting into the budgeting.
Right,
Right.
so then typically we'll start 3rd or 4th week of August.
But hopefully,
We get a
Like-
lot of it done at this
the
point.
plan is gonna drive a lot of the actual,
We probably won't meet as much.
we won't have to meet as much. We're not gonna
Yeah.
like, cause we'll have the plan and be like, all right, these things have already budgeted, we have all that.
Yeah.
Like, here's the new stuff that we're gonna have to talk through.
Do you want to do the 21st of August as a date?
There's what is this August I'm looking at?
I won't be able to be.
And there's a meeting here.
Yeah. What's,
So that's the 23rd, sorry, the
what's
21st.
that date? Oh, you
29th?
Sunka can't do Tuesday, so,
Oh yeah, he can't do Tuesday.
can you do Wednesday, the 28th?
The 30th?
The 30th?
The
Excuse me,
30th of
30th.
August?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to be away
So,
Okay,
for
no.
a couple of weeks,
so
so.
just FYI, I might be occupied around there, second child.
Oh,
around Labor Day,
congratulations.
so-
Congratulations.
What's the due date?
Labor Day.
Oh.
Late.
It'll be late.
Yeah.
Good.
Exactly, so,
Wait,
just
the
a
second child?
caveat on that one, the second, yeah. so-
How
Oh,
long
no,
is
the second one will be early.
Early. How long's
Right.
parental leave?
Not long enough?
How long do you get though?
I had to look at my, time,
Okay.
but, it can be flexible, because I can work, I have capabilities at
I
home,
like,
so I know.
I feel like Labor Day is that coming weekend, right? The 30th is absolutely no. That
Yeah,
you're gonna be in a
yeah.
hospital.
Yeah,
Can we do anything the week of the 21st? Is anyone or are people gone?
I'm gone.
I'm actually here that week.
All right.
I could do that. The week after, I go away for a couple weeks. Like I could do the
What
21st.
I want to do is avoid, yeah, but, no,
Oh, there's something here, 22nd, 23rd.
I hate to do this. You can't do Tuesdays, huh?
No, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays.
No one likes meeting on Fridays.
23rd.
I think I'm gone, hold on, Friday the 18th.
August?
Actually, yeah, no, I'm gone. The week of the 14th, I'm gone.
The 16th did not work?
The week of the whole 14th, I'm gone.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So the challenge is this. The week of the 14th, the week of the 21st, and the week of the 28th, we're all
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah,
This is like, it's pushing us into September.
But theoretically, we should be all set by
This should, we should be having a conversation about
Right.
what,
maybe a couple.
yeah.
So we can't do anything 22nd, 23rd, 24th.
Let's.
Correct.
I think
About that week,
let's use this for right now, and then when we meet on the 26th, let's have this conversation again.
Okay.
I think it'll give us a better idea of
How many meetings we actually need.
yeah.
what should I do before the next meeting to be prepared?
Yeah, I'll get the document out based on last year's request. Send it over. I'll send the whole CIP document, and then
The
create the
rules
new
too?
the rules and that as well.
Okay,
I would suggest maybe watching the videos, but I don't think.
Riveting.
Yeah,
They are.
yeah, snooze fest, or read the minutes. That might be better.
yeah,
Eggs?
And and I guess
I'll take a look at Dover's.
yeah, take a look at
CIP.
Dover's too.
We all should look at Dover's.
Yeah.
I want to
I'll
read
look at
Dover's.
And then I guess from there we can start having a conversation of thinking what that document should look like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
based on what we see in Dover's, what we currently have, and how do we want to create our own, what that looks like to reflect our process.
Okay.
So I guess that would be the goal for the 26th is kind of solidifying that plan format at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then next week I'll inform department heads of the expedited process while we're starting early, and have their requests in, and also nothing, if there's something new
Right.
more so, and then also more, I'll pull in the department heads on the items that weren't funded. Say, hey, look, just need more description. The
Yeah.
committee needs more description on what your plan is for this reserve.
And how it links to the.
Yeah, exactly. So I finalized the new forms, so that should be better process
Great.
as you're evaluating the requests. Because last time Sunka wasn't really a lot of room for descriptions.
Yeah, it's almost like
Yeah.
there should be a request form for the work, and then the budget form is just an appendix to it, right?
Mhm.
Like a description of what's happening. That form is built entirely as a budget process.
Yeah.
Right. You can tell a finance person really is one who
Right.
whereas what is the work? How's it support the master plan? As opposed to be giving a box, something more robust there, what I think would be helpful for me. I don't know you.
Well, I gave a lot more real estate on
Okay.
the document for that, and also it's two-sided, so there's actual continuation for
Okay.
descriptions for that, and then
mean, the
you
dollars
need to
have
see,
to
you
be
need to see
there.
the mo- you
You
need
have to
see
be
the
there.
mo-
I'm
yeah.
just trying to think of how I'm thinking about a mental model shift. That
Yeah.
if they see basically what is the same form with just more words, it's not going to shift behavior that much. It's I think that if there's some way to be here's the real. I'm trying to help change behavior by shifting the
Sure.
dot, something, right?
I'm not trying to do that
It's
with a
tough to
document.
avoid the whole
Yeah.
financial part of that, though.
We have to talk about it, but if the problem is if that's the lead,
Yeah, no, I get it.
how do we make that the second
We
thing?
just
not
don't
the
want it
first
to
thing?
look like a capital reserve budgeting document.
That's exactly
Right.
it. The capital improvement plan
What
that is
is-
supported by the capital reserve funding.
I think we need to recognize that this, we have a short amount of time, and maybe moving toward a different process
Yeah.
for next year, give ourselves a little bit more time and, and,
fair
and,
point.
and,
No,
and
that's a
build
good
it.
idea.
It's a really good point.
And let's see
We're
how it goes
iterating.
this year too. You know,
Yeah.
like we had last year to that data, and now see how this process goes this year with a couple tweaks.
Can we, I know that we're asking for like additions and stuff.
Yeah.
When we talk to the department heads, could we also ask like, have conditions changed and there's work that they were proposing last year that doesn't make sense anymore?
Yeah, so we can have that. We can prompt them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to think more broadly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
And they do,
basically, yeah,
think, the school, member of the school was talking about, various capital things. They didn't really have a plan, they didn't have anything, and now I think they're actually doing that.
we are in the middle of a capital study.
Yeah, yeah.
To get exactly
So
that,
that's
a document to be like, here's the plan, and then we can budget for
So
it.
that's a
Could you
big
share
difference.
your experience from that process and how it can be potentially?
Yeah, I mean, we could bring in, so Jana, the business administrator.
She's good. She'll be coming anyways, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Like, you're on that committee, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything we can pull away from that? You think?
I
That
mean,
would
so
help
right now
us?
we have the person we've contracted with doing that
Okay.
work. Like, it's like getting the
Yeah.
report from them and
Gotcha.
then getting to,
Okay.
but I think it's been a robust, much like the facility study, look at like what we have for capital expenditures and how do we like plan for that long term
Yeah.
in a way that the school just hasn't done before.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
But I think it was this committee that drove
Sort of,
the
yeah,
school to that.
That's good.
kind of coaxed them to think about that. And at the deliberative session, the superintendent talked about that,
All right. Any other business? My only other business is how do we get community members on this thing? I know there's a
Right.
list of like 18 committees that don't have enough people on it.
Do you have any recommendations I can reach out to?
Is it in the
'Cause I haven't-
newsletter that there are open positions on this
I
committee?
believe there is,
I
but I'll
don't,
double
I
check.
think there is. Last time I saw it.
I mean, I don't want to push everything off,
Yeah.
but I was really excited by the idea. I think there's the Portsmouth process being an open and community-based process.
Yeah.
We at the town council meeting, we were talking about how do we involve the community better.
Yeah.
And I think it is through inclusive processes like these. You don't have to come to town council meetings. That's not necessarily the way you want to interact. But it's these processes where you're planning for what's going to come about over the next 4 or 5 years that you can be excited about, that you want to contribute to, that we involve the community, and that we create that buy-in. So I think as we build the process for the coming years, and maybe building off the master planning process and the excitement that always generates, because it always does, and then the excitement ebbs away once the implementation comes. So if we can keep that, because the implementation or the operationalizing of that process, whatever the term there is also a public process, so that you have you carry that through. And when you mentioned that, Rich, about the Portsmouth process, I thought that was that's exciting. That's really good.
I think this.
I shared some info on that. I shared, I don't know if you shared it with them, but I had their PowerPoint of their CIP and the citizen form that they used, to try to get people involved.
That's not bad. We could probably.
We put
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah.
They're going to
Right.
self-select people who might want to be at-large members.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I don't think we're ready for a citizens
Yeah.
part of this, but,
I would love to get there.
yeah.
Yeah.
How you get members at large, I think there's a lot of stuff in town where we don't have people.
So many committees are hurting for people.
Oh, I know, and the elections, everybody's unopposed, and,
Yeah.
we're struggling.
We had, the town council had like
That's right.
people appointed. I like never used to have it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a technical.
I tried to get appointed, I wasn't selected, so.
No?
No.
Oh man.
You just find one more big thing to do.
I know. Yeah, another meeting.
Oh, it had to resign from this.
Fine.
Yeah, right.
All right. Any other business? See none. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wait, we do not have elections of officers. This is a reconstituted board. Should we wait till Jane's here to do
I
that?
think we should, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. There's a motion on the floor. Second?
Second.
All's in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned, 6:32.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. All right, thanks for.